Today on Cooking with a Lion, we'll be making a delicious Thai-inspired sauce that you'll want to put on just about everything you can get your hands on. Plus, I'll be sharing my best tips on how to coax out the most flavor from the humble cauliflower. And it's all happening right now. Let's get started. We're going to start today's recipe by grabbing cauliflower, say 2 medium cauliflower, and we're going to slice it into 1/2-inch slices, okay? Now, everything that's a cruciferous vegetable, talk about cauliflower, there's kale, Brussels sprouts, and of course broccoli are all in the same family, and all of those vegetables actually do really, really well when you cook them for shorter periods of time, but at very, very high heat, right? And that's what we'll be doing today. So with the cauliflower sliced, now we want to season it. Cauliflower is a lot like tofu, where it's lovely in texture, and it can range in flavor, whatever flavors you add to it. But it's by itself, it's this wonderful blank canvas. So we have this incredible blank canvas, to which I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of a neutral oil. I have grapeseed oil here, canola oil, safflower or sunflower oil will work really well. And the reason why you want to use oil on this is because it helps the spices stick to it, but it also makes it so that it doesn't evaporate quite so quickly and you can get it nice and crispy in a shorter period of time. Those spices I was referring to, well, what are we talking about here? We're talking about, of course, salt and pepper, and then some ground cumin and ground coriander. I'm gonna give this a little stir with my finger so that each piece is evenly coated. I like to have one hand that's dry and one hand that's got to be a little funky, okay? So maybe about half right now. Go ahead and turn it. If you feel like getting a little bit crazy, you can also do one of these little numbers so that the cauliflower gets coated with the oil and the spices. And of course, we have the second half of the spices that we have. Make sure evenly coating all those little tiny pieces so that the flavors really start to intensify when you put them on a foil-lined sheet pan. And that's what I have over here to the left-hand side, all right? So, sheet pan with foil. I'm gonna lay this over. And what you wanna do is you wanna distribute, use your hand just to distribute the cauliflower so it's on one even layer. Because when we put it underneath the broiler, you wanna make sure it's all nice and evenly cooked. Well, how long? Well, for cauliflower that's about 1/2-inch thick, that usually takes between 5 and 6 minutes to get it nicely charred on the top. We'll remove it, flip the cauliflower pieces, put it back under the broiler for another 4 minutes or until the cauliflower is charred just like the first half. With the cauliflower roasting beautifully in the oven, which doesn't take long, we're gonna start with this amazing Thai sauce, which doesn't take long at all. Grab yourself a really good blender. We're gonna start with Thai chilies. I like the green ones because the color of the green, and also these younger green ones are gonna be hotter. That's where a little heat comes from. And 7 good-sized garlic cloves, peeled but not chopped, because they'll blend up beautifully inside the blender. We also wanna balance that out with some granulated sugar, okay? And what sugar does is it does balance out the flavors, but it also, because it's like crystalline in nature, as you grind it, it helps break down all the tissue of all the rest of the things we have in here. One thing which is a little bit hard to break down, but that sugar is going to help with, is this, lemongrass. I lucked out, my local grocery store had some pretty young lemongrass, but even the young ones, what you want to do is you want to remove this outermost layer, okay? And then grab your knife, cut it into pieces, and then chop the bejeegers out of it. You want about 3 tablespoons of this. And that's what this is, all right? So this goes in, the lemongrass. And to balance that out, we have fresh ginger. I peeled fresh ginger, and then I chopped it up really well as well, okay? Now, why not just throw the ginger and lemongrass in a blender? Well, I tried that and it doesn't really work. You need to give it a head start, chop it up really well, and to blend it into something nice and smooth. What's gonna help it blend? Well, a little bit of liquid from fresh lime. One of those things in Thailand you just cannot have a meal without. Also, salt and pepper, just to balance that out, okay? So easy. If you have a blender, so easy to make. We also have Thai basil leaves. And when you're in Thailand, you know what they call this? They call it basil leaves. That's what they call it. But here in the States, we call this Thai basil. About 30 to 40, or the equivalent of the larger leaves. And they all go in now. And that is about 2 stems worth, okay? We also have cilantro, stems and leaves. This is a medium head, okay? A medium. It's like a bouquet of cilantro. What do you do with it? Well, you just shove it on in there, okay? That goes in. It really is, I told you, a very simple recipe. What else do we have? Well, we need a little bit of onion, okay? Not a yellow onion or a red onion. This is green onion. What I've done is I've taken 2 green onions and I've taken off just the white portion and discarded that. The light green and darker green portion I just chopped up, and that goes in, okay? And a little bit of oil. I'm gonna do 2 tablespoons of the same, the neutral grapeseed oil. And the reason for that, you don't want to use something flavorful like olive oil that will get in the way of all these incredible, like pungent, clear flavors. So grapeseed oil is great, and oh man, toasted sesame oil. Just 1 tablespoon of this. So darn good, so good. Then you cover your ears up, plunge this thing down. We're gonna start on low speed, and we'll eventually get all the way up to number 10 until it's nice and smooth, all right? Here we go. Whew. Okay, now we're gonna sample it. Nice to have one of these. It's just like an explosion of flavor. And so what you wanna do is you wanna think and ponder, how can we add more flavor to this and make it more of a sauce? Because there's a lot of like vegetal material, it's a little thick. Well, that's when a special ingredient, full fat coconut milk goes in. What I've done is behind me in my rice cooker, I took 3/4 cup of the coconut milk and I made with water coconut rice, and that's what I'm serving with this dish. Yum! And what's left over, I'm gonna add into this to make this lovely light green, super flavorful sauce that I guarantee, yes, you will put on just about everything you could possibly get your hands on. We'll blend this on low until incorporated. Check on this cauliflower, and it's time to serve really fast. The smell of coconut rice right out of the rice cooker is so, just makes you salivate. And then the smell of this spice roasted cauliflower is like doubling down on flavors, on textures. That is wonderful. But this sauce is calling my name. In fact, it's calling everybody's name. Pour it right over top. And there's plenty to go around. But I do want a little bit of crunch, and that's where roasted salted cashews come into play. Add a few of those. I've had it like this before, but I want to up it just a little bit with a fried egg, sunny side up. This will go right on top. Oh, yes. Is that the end? No, it's not. I also want to add a little bit of chili oil. And that, oh, come on. Look at that. That is ridiculous. I made this at home. You can make this at home too, with a few little sprigs of fresh cilantro around. I swear, if I came to your house and you presented this to me, I would say, I'd pay $8-10 for that, no problem. And now is the time to take a bite. Look at this. What? You've got that beautiful sunny side up egg, a little bit of that chili oil, but don't forget that sauce. That sauce is in there. And of course, the coconut rice. You want to brace yourself against something very solid when you take a bite. There is so much amazing flavor going on in this dish. That coconut rice is such a wonderful, slightly sweet, soft bed for that roasted spiced cauliflower. And the cauliflower just grounds it. You have the cumin and salt and pepper and coriander. Nothing crazy, but it's nice and solid. But the sauce, it's that sauce that brings the whole thing together. You have the Thai chili, which is that heat. You have the garlic, which is also heat, that raw garlic, which is actually really, really nice. You have the lemongrass on this side, and you have ginger on this side, which is bookending the lime juice, which brings the whole thing together as far as acidity, a nice punch. But then, whoa, 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 everybody. Don't forget that really lovely fatty coconut milk that actually completes the entire sauce. It goes beautifully with vegetables, tofu, fish, chicken, even beef. Now it's a lot of dishes, but luckily I've designed this recipe so there's a lot of sauce left over so that anything you make, you can drizzle it right over top. Cheers.